The doctors lowered their eyes, the machines went silent, and the word dead fell into the room like a stone sinking into deep water, heavy and final, crushing every breath left in Arman's chest as he stood beside the hospital bed where his pregnant wife lay still, her face pale, her body unmoving, her future seemingly erased in a single moment that split his life into before and after. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and miracles that arrive when hope seems gone, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Soul Tale, because stories like this remind us why the human heart refuses to give up. Arman had brought Sana to the hospital at dawn, her hands trembling, her breathing shallow, the promise of motherhood glowing quietly inside her despite the complications doctors had warned them about. She had been strong through months of discomfort and fear, smiling through pain, whispering prayers into the night, holding her belly as if protecting the life growing inside her with sheer willpower. But that morning, everything went wrong. A sudden medical crisis, rushed corridors, bright lights, frantic movements, and then the unbearable stillness. The doctors did what they could, or so it seemed, and finally delivered the verdict that shattered Arman's world. Sana was declared gone, her body lying there like a fragile shell, while Arman's heart screamed in a silence no one else could hear. While he stood frozen, unable to cry, unable to move, his in-laws gathered outside the room, their grief strangely shallow, their concern quickly shifting into something colder. For years they had disapproved of Sana's marriage, resented her choices, and quietly blamed her for family disputes that had nothing to do with her. To them, this tragedy became an ending they could accept too easily. There was talk of rituals, of moving on, of closing the chapter as quickly as possible. Some even spoke of relief, of how fate had resolved what they believed never should have happened. Their smiles were subtle, restrained, but unmistakable to anyone who looked closely. Arman felt alone in a room full of people. He sat by Sana's side long after the doctors had left, holding her cold hand, refusing to believe that the warmth he remembered could vanish so completely. His mind replayed memories relentlessly, her laughter in their small kitchen, her excitement when they first heard a heartbeat, her quiet strength when fear crept in. He leaned closer, resting his forehead near her hand, overwhelmed by a need to say goodbye, even though his soul resisted every word of acceptance. Time stretched painfully until a nurse entered to disconnect the remaining equipment. She paused, hesitated, and leaned closer to Sana's body, her trained eyes catching something others had missed. There was a subtle movement, almost imperceptible, a faint sign that did not belong in a room declared finished. The nurse froze, checked again, and then rushed to call for help. The atmosphere shifted in seconds, urgency flooding back into the room like oxygen after suffocation. Doctors returned, this time with tension in their faces, instruments in their hands, and questions forming faster than answers. As they examined Sana again, a quiet realization spread among them, something extraordinary hidden beneath the earlier conclusion. A whisper passed between medical staff, careful but electric, carrying a truth that refused to stay silent. Sana's body was fighting, and inside her not one but two lives were still clinging to hope. The words reached Arman not as a shout, but as a fragile breath of possibility. Twins. His knees nearly gave way as disbelief and hope collided inside him. Tears finally came, hot and uncontrollable, not of loss, but of awe and terror and gratitude all at once. While the family outside had begun planning endings, life had been waiting patiently for someone to notice. Emergency procedures followed, and hours passed in agonizing uncertainty. Sana remained unconscious, balanced between worlds, while the medical team worked tirelessly to save the bobbies and bring her back from the edge she had been pushed to too soon. Arman stayed rooted to the spot, praying in every language he knew, promising every promise a desperate heart could make. When the twins were delivered, tiny and fragile but alive, their cries pierced the silence like a declaration of defiance against death itself. And moments later, Sana's chest rose on its own, a shallow breath that deepened slowly, stubbornly, beautifully. Against expectations, against premature judgments, life had chosen to stay. The in-laws, once celebratory in their quiet cruelty, stood stunned, their faces pale with the weight of their own assumptions. There were no apologies loud enough to undo their earlier joy, no words that could erase how quickly they had accepted her death. But the truth stood undeniable in the small hospital room, two newborn lives wrapped in warmth, and a mother who had refused to leave them behind. Recovery was slow and painful. Sana awoke days later to a reality she could barely comprehend, her body weak, her mind clouded, but her heart strong enough to carry the miracle she had survived. Arman became her shadow, her strength, her reminder that love does not leave when things become difficult. The twins grew stronger under careful care, their tiny fingers curling around life with quiet determination. News of the incident spread through the hospital.